that a source has disclosed that Wike's support base is getting weaker as some governors are looking at other options out of the crisis so that it won't affect chances of the party in the general elections.
In the on the political roundtable on Sunday, all of the analysts asked a question. In the South, which is supposed to be his domain,
who is his ally?
There's no governor in the South that is with Wike on this particular issue. His friends, the governors he's been going around with and mentioning as his base, these are governors that you need to even question their performance in their respective states. Samuel Otom, for example, in Benue, apart from always shouting about issues of insecurity, an average person from Benue State will tell you is that he's a complete failure when it comes to performance. The same thing with Oyo State. You can just continue to wait. Even if you put his performance against his immediate predecessor, that's Ajimobi, the late Ajimobi, a lot of people will tell you that he never really performed, to the expectations of the people of Oyo State. And that's why he's struggling seriously. He will have to struggle seriously to get a second term. Which other person is he going around with? Piazu?
And Sheyi Makinde.
And Sheyi Makinde, Piazu, and these guys. These are people, even in Abia State, they will question the performance of Piazu.
Well, moving on now. More details on page 6 of the Guardian newspaper. We also have oil industry. Federal government to install new flow meters, take over production data from oil firms.
Yeah, okay.
Is this going to help us to monitor or to?
If they're still going to be the
if they're still going to be in power.
No. Whatever they even do, so far human beings are going to be involved in the process. It can still be manipulated.
Yeah.
Now human beings go see and do that.
Well, what I have is contrary to the present practice where Nigeria depends on operators for production data to determine daily volume and oil earnings, the federal government, through the Nigerian Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission, said it will commence the installation of its own flow meters to be able to, cross-check oil production facilities and pipelines in the upstream.
At some point,
sector.
A particular human being will still have to be in charge of the collation of those data, and eventually computing it, whether we like it or not.
Okay.
The flow meters are not going to work on their own without, the involvement of human beings at one point or the other.
Maybe then we'll stop having different
figures.
We'll stop having different figures. Moving on now, petrol scarcity looms.
Again?
As IPMAN, Independent Petroleum Marketers, announces warning strike over bridging claims.
That again is coming up.
I'm sorry.
I think we dealt with that some months ago.
Yes, we did. And, it actually died a natural death. There was no,
the claims and counter claims about you paid me, you didn't pay me.
And it ended there.
Somehow
there was nothing, from that. But what we have now is that fresh fuel scarcity is looming in northern states as independent marketers announced a 3-day warning strike over non-payment of outstanding bridging costs. Claims. So they are saying that in Kano now, the Northern Independent Petroleum Marketers Forum shut down the depot of NNPCL. They've done that one in Kano. That's happening there. And
scarcity in Kano as we speak.
Yes. So what we have now is that they have shut down all the 9 depots in the northern parts of the country, not just Kano.
Because of the bridging claims.
Yes, and what they're saying, they're talking
bridging
about
claims,
Suleja, Mina, Jos, Yola, Gombe, Maiduguri, Kaduna, Gusau, and of course Kano, and they're stopping operations at the depot and withdrawing their service. So what the riders to that story, we have why Buhari must replace NNPC leadership.
Yeah, we've been talking about really, really, really probing the NNPC leadership. Unfortunately, there's no way we're going to isolate the NNPC without talking about the Minister of Petroleum. There's no way.
As a limited company,
just a recent thing.
Yes, I know, but as a limited company, shouldn't there be like a board of directors?
Well, I think they're still trying to put the board together. The explanation we have is that the explanation we have is that as it is, the government is still the major shareholder until they make it public for people to buy into the company.
Is it private or is it not?
It is, but the process is still ongoing. The process of making it complete, having board members, shareholders is going to be it's not complete yet. So that's the explanation. But You see, whatever it is, the fact is that sector needs a complete reform, and you can't reform until you probe to know what has gone wrong. And there's no way you're going to reform, sorry, Sandra, without also asking questions from the Minister of Petroleum or the Ministry of Petroleum. Either the Minister or Minister of State needs to answer questions, be asked questions and answer questions.
The Minister of State has been saying some things, but
the things he has been saying really has not helped anybody.
TUC laments growing oil theft, advocates use of drones to monitor people that are stealing the oil. Northern youths applaud 4 billion naira pipeline surveillance contract to Tom Polo.
Yeah.
This thing that caused problem in Ondo State.
The northern youths are...
They are jubilating.
Again, you may need to check the reports to know which northern youths. Is it a group of 1 or 2, 3 people? You know some of these things.
Thank you very much for that.
Eh?
This coalition of northern youths
not talking.
faulted criticisms trailing the multi-million dollar pipeline contract awarded to former militant leader.
Who is the leader of that group, the coalition of northern youths? Speaking for the whole of the youths in the north.
Addressing journalists in Abuja, the coordinator of the group, Mukhtar Adamu, said the action by NNPC was necessitated by the need for Nigeria to hire private contractors to protect its oil pipelines nationwide. That's actually an interesting one.
Sandra, in propaganda, we do something. You know, go talk.
Are you a part of propaganda?
It's part of the job now. Listen, you know what you do. Let me just.
I'm with you.
You want to say something, but you don't say it yourself. You understand? To justify what you've done.
So the voice is the voice of Jacob, but the body of Esau.
So that's so I think that explains the thing.
It's all right. From what?
I'm just
more
saying.
Details on page 3. We also have Buhari suspends proposed excise duty on telecom sector. So I think Pantami seems to be
gotten his way,
gaining victory on that one. That the telco and information communication sector
not overburden it.
Yes, is currently overburdened with a lot of taxes.
And I think his explanations are valid if we really look at it. I think he said we have about almost 1,000 kind of taxes
from federal and state level
on the telecom sector alone. And then you bring excise, it's going to kill the sector. So.
All right.
I think for the first time, Pantami seems to be working for the people.
No, it's not for the first time.
Okay, he has always worked for the people.
He's a good person.
Okay, all right.
Thank you for
We'll go with that.
More details on page 3. I also have here, banks review working hours as over security concerns. So that has been in the news, actually.
There was a diesel concern yesterday.
Yes, apart from, it was operation concern cost yesterday.
Which we looked more at the issue of diesel, staff leaving.
It was brain drain and diesel.
Cost of energy and all of that, yeah.
But now, today, it's in the news.
Security concerns all over the country, or maybe a part of the country.
That's what I'm trying to get now. So we have more details on page 4. Okay, all right. Yes, we have more details on page 4. So what we have is that security concerns have triggered an adjustment in the operational official operating hours of UBA and Access Bank.
In which part is it? All over the country. So
what we have is I'm trying to see. Well, it's these 2 banks. It's just these 2 banks. So, but
why use the word banks?
But there are 2 because there are 2.
Well, I'm just saying that this is giving an indication that all banks in Nigeria.
It's the headline.
It's a bit.
They expect it's a bit vague, but they expect it to go in.
I know.
So what's there are certain different reasons for the decision, including insecurity. And what they are saying now is that Access Bank specifically urged its customers to consider processing most of their transactions via digital channels. All right. And they said they'll be closing at 3 p.m. From last week, Monday. Wait, okay.
I don't know. Security
A few of our Access Bank branches nationwide will be closed at 3. Other branches will close at 4. Now, I'm not getting anything here as to what part of the country will be closing at 3 and what part of the country will be closing at 4. It's a bit vague about that. But then UBA is saying that from September 1st, they'll be closing to customers.
Sandra, I don't know. Like you said,
I didn't get.
Let me tell you, the headline is a bit misleading. It should have just been UBA Access Bank to close early for security concerns. Simple. But for you to say banks, it would have given the idea that all banks in Nigeria. It could have just been UBA Access Bank to close early for security concerns. Simple.
It's okay.
Hmm.
Thank you for helping
You know, you understand what I'm saying?
Yes, more details on page 4, and because I didn't really take much
When you say
away from
banks,
that report,
I
though.
don't fear.
That-
Some of us that don't use UBA and maybe Access Bank would have thought that all banks. So it's good that let them be specific. These
But
are
now
the two banks,
that's why thank God I had to go deep and check. So because it seemed like all banks came together
and decided to
and made that decision. But I do know that banks in Ijebode, if there's an ammo tank that comes out and parks at a certain strategic location, once the ammo
where
tank,
you have the cluster of banks, right?
yes, there's just one road,
Oh,
Falagade
okay.
Road. So once the ammo tank is not
There.
in position, the banks don't open.
Eh?
It's like an unspoken agreement.
Well,
All of the banks on that road.
but
do not
again,
open.
the report didn't really
But this one
specify
now,
the security
yes,
concerns. Yeah.
He didn't like mention
it was
the
just,
issue with Ijebode is robbery. They
so
they have robbery.
would have been
issues.
nice to know the security concerns. For
Or what
UBI.
part of the country will be
yeah.
closing earlier than
But
the
again,
other.
the report is incomplete. Yeah.
All right, we also have trial of parents, guardians of out-of-school children begins September 12, says Obaseki. And that's on page 8. So if your child is not in school or your child is not going to school in Edo State, they'll ask you a question.
They'll try you. I think the governor is just joking.
Why?
Oh, okay. Let him go to court now and let's see. Or is it court or
He's concerned, isn't it?
if he's concerned, they should improve this living standard of people.
All right. Well, Edo State Governor Godwin Obaseki has said the state government will commence arrest and prosecution of parents and guardians of out-of-school children from the next academic
Well,
session.
I don't know. Is education completely free in Edo State?
Eh.
You have free education in Edo State? But that's probably the reason why you may want to say, oh, you have no reason not to have your kids in school. It's free. And when we say free, it should be free in totality. The uniform, the desk, teaching materials, everything should be free.
I don't see anything as regards that, but I do know that there's a serious, restructuring going on in the education sector in Edo State. But as regards free education, though, it's not specifically mentioned in the report. But then more details on page 8 of the Guardian newspaper. All right, so let's keep moving now very quickly and move on to The Nation and the major headline: PDP crisis, I will crush my detractors, says Wike. All of this statement, I just want to let people know that all of the statement that you're going to be reading this morning from Wike is from when he attended the commissioning of
A flyover.
Okezuo Abia flyover. That's what the flyover is
Say the
called.
first in the state.
Okezuo.
The first and only one in the state.
I hope my Igbo brothers will correct me on that. I don't know if I got that. Okezuo Abia flyover. So he was there with some other governors, and that's where a lot of all this statements are coming from. It's very important that that it's from a commissioning of a flyover bridge. Very, very important.
The first and only one in that state.
It's okay.
No, I just want to put that.
All right, and then we have riders to that. It's too late to break my ranks. And Atiku already sharing positions before poll.
So it's about positions, huh?
Yes. That's what we have here. Okay. And Wike is saying that efforts to break the rank of his supporters will fail. All right. And there's a whole lot of reports as regards that on page 4 of The Nation.
It's so
newspaper.
wonderful how Wike keeps making the news at this time. On the round table, I think it was Barrister Curtis that said something that in the South, there are other governors in the South quietly doing their thing, doing their job, impacting on the people. It's just that they are not this loud. That Wike is just the loudest.
There's something Barrister Curtis also said on political roundtable is the fact that Wike himself will not choose a Wike to be his vice president.
His own running mate. That
that
if he was the candidate of the PDP, he would not have even chosen himself
as a running mate.
Because you can't be this toxic and expect anybody to want to really get close to you.
Well, he knows what he's doing.
You think he knows what he's doing?
I want to believe he knows what he's doing with the demands that he's making. It's just that if there were no antecedents, we wouldn't be saying double standards, because he knew, how Iyorchia Ayu got,
He was, they were instrumental to Iyorchia Ayu.
He knew how, exactly. But why I would say we should cut Wike some slack is because he did not see Atiku tickets coming. He didn't see that coming.
Why does
he didn't expect PDP, number one, to throw their ticket open, number two, to allow a northerner to even contest at all.
But they all were in the party. His ally Autumn was the chairman of a 37-man panel that was supposed to take a decision.
But don't forget that Autumn had a different statement.
Okay.
The panel had a different statement.
So in all of those indecision within the PDP at that time, Wike was also part of all of that. And so he went into the contest believing that he was going to win. And he was given a master stroke in politics. Atiku won. I think you just take that in good faith and not, all of this, I will crush. Again, it would be nice to see Wike June 2023.
Post-election period.
After handing over.
Post-governorship.
Yeah, it would be nice to really see him again. And look at how many people he must have crushed.
More detail. It's okay.
He said he
more
will
details
crush
on. He said, "I will crush my detractors."
That's what I'm saying. We know how many people he has crushed by June.
More details on page 4 of The Nation. We also have federal government suspends 5% tax on telecoms services.
Yeah, Pantami on
That's
that one.
On page 4. Worst of insecurity is over. Federal government tells Nigerians. 3,004. These are riders now. 3,407 insurgents surrendered. 96 arrested by troops.
I think they should be prosecuted.
They're insurgents.
They should be prosecuted.
They will be prosecuted.
No. The antecedents have shown that what you see, they've repented. We need to reform them. They've been pardoned. We need to integrate them and back into the society. No. These are people who have committed crimes against Nigeria and against the people, and they should be prosecuted.
Abuja Kaduna Highway now safe. 66 terrorists killed. Anti-terror war to be intensified, and 52 captives rescued. So the federal government is assuring Nigerians that the worst of insecurity in the country is over. That what we have now are solo, attacks here and there. It's not like the massive.
Sandra, I won't take the FG serious until maybe if I hear from somebody like El Rufai to come out again and say, "Oh, yeah, the statement I made in the past that I'm running a parallel government with bandits is no more." If he comes out to say again that yes, as a governor, I can now drive from Kaduna to Abuja using the highway, he should come out and say all of that until we hear statements like that from him. The governor of Zamfara State should also come and talk to us and say, "Oh, my state is safe now." And Niger State too, and say, "Well, farmers are now able to go to farm. The bandits are no more. They've been wiped out. The state is safe now. There are no incidents again." People in Shiroro, the Niger State governor, should come and talk to us about all of those incidents. Until that happens, I'm sorry, I won't take the FG for what they've just said.
Oh, this is a valid question. I would like to ask Nigerians: do they think that insecurity is winning?
Although there have been reports of the army, recording successes and all of that, but
that's where the federal government is coming from.
And I think it's too early to celebrate until we're very sure. We should just all
right. Well,
be careful. Yeah.
Okay, so what we have, more details on that on page 28 of The Nation newspaper. We also have OPEC OK's 1.826 million output for Nigeria.
And I don't think we'll be able to, with the issue of oil theft, excuses of vandalism. I don't think we'll be able to meet that quota. And I think it keeps dropping. I can't remember the figure now, the last figure in terms of our quota, but
they keep reducing it, probably trying to help us meet up.
Because if you can't meet up with your quota, what they simply do is to reduce it. If you're able to meet your quota, there's an argument for you to demand for an increase in the quota. So it's a very simple thing.
All right. Well, more details on page 7. We also have furore over over TCN's privatization.
I don't know. We keep asking why the whole arrangement have a situation where the Gencos, the generation sector was privatized, the distribution was privatized, and the government decided to hold on to the TCN. So,
is it possible?
No, I don't. It was because of the national grid. The idea of the government being in control of the grid. Again, whether we like it or not, I think the final solution would be to unbundle this entire thing, unbundle everything. Let each region or probably states decide how they want to generate, transmit, and distribute power.
All right. More details on the TCN privatization story on page 5. Also have kidnappers demand 90 million naira ransom to free wedding guests in Ondo State.
What's happening in Ondo State?
Yeah.
Again? I think there's now something going on in Ondo State because I don't know, because in the last 1 or 2 weeks there's been reports of one kidnapping, another
close
kidnapping.
to a border?
Ondo State opens up to the North Central. It opens up to part of Kogi State and all of that, and I think there's something going on. I think you remember the governor also talked to indigenes of Kogi State who live in Ondo State about the fact that they are now
the
Ebira people and all that. That the level of insecurity in the state is also the connivance of some of these people with some of these killer men and all of that. That there seems to be a lot of connivance in that regard. So, but I think the governor would have to also step up because he's the most vocal. And it's troubling to know that all of these things are now happening in Ondo State. That's supposed to be like a reference point, to talk about the successes of Amotekun and the rest,
Because the truth of the matter is, ever since the Owo massacre on 5th of July, 5th of June, there have been one incident or the other.
And more of kidnappings and all of that. Recently, I think, somebody was murdered, I think, about 2 days ago. So.
Well, more details on page 6. Hopefully, because I know that there were, some bills that were passed by the State House of Assembly to empower Amotekun. Yeah, I don't know how far that has gone, but then more details on the kidnappers' demand on page 6 of the Nation newspaper.
As in Ondo State, yeah.
Petrol scarcity looms as Ipman stops supply.
That's in the north. Yeah.
Yes, that's in the north, and that's on page 7 of the Nation. We also have Elizabeth Truss as British Prime Minister. That's on page 27. We'll talk about that on Global View. Yes. Collapsed building. Lagos Commissioner resigns. I read that yesterday. I don't know if I should. I don't know if
applaud that.
Yeah, applaud that or be like. Was that the better decision?
Well, the state government has said that was supposed to be like a prelude to a reform of the entire, sector. The agencies involved in construction. I'm thinking that I should be able to speak with a builder that does rises in Lagos. This idea,
the real estate,
because again, the worry for me is that if you hear a building collapse in Lagos, the locations that will first come to your mind would either be Butemeta, Yaba, where you have a lot of the old buildings going up, and you have developers. Clustered. Then you have maybe Lagos Island, where you have developers doing all manner of things, but not in eyebrow areas like Ikoyi and Victoria Island, where you expect the developers to at least, keep to some level of standards. And that's a worry,
But Fuad, I know that in recent times, building constructors or developers have been complaining of high price in building materials.
Well, does it not make sense for you not to construct at all than to erect buildings that will kill people?
Yeah, good one.
While trying to shortcut corners.
Okay, and that's on page 6 of the Nation. And finally, from the Nation newspaper, we have how Tinubu's vision turned Lagos into mega city. The Nation doing what it knows how to do. Let's see.
Well, the thing about
there are pictures. Is this Lagos?
Yeah, that's a 3D of the Eco Atlantic City. A section of the Eco Atlantic City.
Has it happened?
It's not happened. It's just an image of what is to happen, what they are planning to do there. And I think the Oshodi, there's also a picture of the
bus terminal.
Bus terminal.
Yes, it's also there.
But the thing is this: I have to say this, and I'm looking at the best way to present it.
This is not a report; it's a campaign of some sort.
It's a campaign of some sort.
Yeah, if you read deep into it, I just try to from the first line, you just know
because the way they are presenting Tinubu's vision and how Lagos has turned into a mega city,
and they keep using Lagos as some sort of
You
performance
probably-
KPI,
you probably wanna-
performance indicator.
You probably
for-
want to ask yourself, what was the vision of people like Babaja Konde, Mobolaji Johnson, and some of these other governors that came before him and did a fantastic job. People have also argued, if Lagos was not a federal capital city, where some of these projects have been done, the Third Mainland Bridge and some of these projects, facilitated by the federal government, would it have been easy for anybody to have said, oh, Tinubu was the one that transformed Lagos into a mega city? And again, there are also questions about the mega city thing. I keep defining it. Lagos is a mega city because of the population. The question we should ask ourselves, is it a functional mega city?
Okay.
The indices of functionality, do we have it in Lagos?
All right. Val, good question. Thank you very much, Fuad. But anybody that wants to read
how Tinubu turned Lagos
turned Lagos around.
You can read the Nation newspaper.
Yes, pages 2 and 3. There are pictures to buttress the report.
The report, okay.
It's okay. Let's move on to the Punch newspaper. You're listening to Mainland 98.3 FM. It's trends in the papers, and we're looking through the headlines on the front pages of our dailies. And right now we're on the Punch newspaper, and the major headline: Muslim ticket. I thought we were done with that.
Yeah, it won't go.
No agreement with Tinubu, can insist. That's Christian Association of Nigeria talking tough.
Tough, okay.
And then we have riders to that. Donation to Kukas Center, not bribe to pacify Christians, says Can. Can's conscience not for sale. Prophetic voice cannot be silenced. That's from a Christian body. PDP jittery over Tinubu's visit to Jonathan, says APC. Ononuga promises issue-based campaigns.
Now, you see, again, these days elections are close. The campaigns are going to start. We will continue to review the papers professionally in the best way we can. But I think this time we should be very careful with some of the reports we'll be getting in the papers. The politicians that are at work, their media departments are also working seriously at this time, and so we're going to be seeing reports that will suggest a whole lot of things. For example, where is the report coming? PDP G3
over Tinubu's visit.
Okay, how do you explain that headline now?
One would think PDP has way more problems than to think.
Or how do you identify that the PDP is G3? As in, was there a statement? Is there something to check the pulse of the PDP to know that they are G3? So I'm just, if you understand why I'm saying that, the campaigns are going to start and we're going to get some reports that you probably just have to gloss over and move on, Sandra.
It's okay. Well, they said that PDP is panicking.
How did they know?
PDP reacted to the closed door meeting between the two statesmen, which the camp of former Lagos was in continuation of his nationwide consultation.
So was there any panic in their
according
reaction?
to PDP, the move was a ploy by both Tinubu and his running mate to distance themselves from the alleged failure of the president.
So that was what
PDP said.
So what was the panic in that statement now?
Why is there silence?
I'm just Sandra. So what I'm just trying to say, Sandra, is that the campaigns are going to start.
All right. More details. But the main
for Can, yes, Can has been.
The main story is Can.
Yeah.
Saying that they are not in agreement with Tinubu
on the Muslim. Yes, they are still maintaining their stand on the Muslim ticket.
Their stand. That's what the report is on majorly. All right. But then more details on pages 2, 6, and 13 of the Punch newspaper. Earthquake kills over 40, destroys homes in China.
Yeah, the earthquake in China.
More details on page 8 of the Punch. We also have 5,307 kidnap robbery suspects arrested in 2 months, and that's on page 14 of the Punch newspaper. 4 more building collapse corpses recovered. Commissioner resigns. You can get more details on pages 4 and 5 of the Punch. Fraud. EFCC arraigns Ogun Speaker. Assembles 10 witnesses. This is a very
serious case, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Speaker of the State House of Assembly. But more details on page 14 of the Punch. We also have BPE raises panel to revive dying government-owned companies.
Yeah.
All right, that's on page 22.
That's the Bureau of Public Enterprises, yeah.
Thank you. Above the masthead of the Punch newspaper, we also have federal government suspends 5% telecoms tax on calls and data. More details on page 22. Flooding killed 372 persons in 8 months. That's coming from NEMA, National Emergency
That's
Management.
across the country, yeah?
Environment, yes. But that's on page 23. We also have 11 state varsities shun ASU. Federal government threatens unions. That's on page 2 of as it is, because some state universities are.
I know LASU is still running. LASU is not on strike. Yeah.
And finally, from the Punch newspaper, we have discos failed to utilize 1,936 megawatts amidst blackouts. That's coming from the federal government.
So we have enough to generate, enough to transmit, but the capacity to distribute is the problem. That's what the report is saying.
Okay.
And that's what we're saying. Let's just unbundle the whole thing.
National grid.
The grid. And then, of course, the capacity to distribute is not there for a lot of these discos. So.
Okay. All right, moving on now. And finally, we have Vanguard newspaper. Let's see what's trending there. We have major headline: 48 hours to NEC meeting. PDP set for make or mar session. And the riders to that is IU rallies against removal bid. PDP, APC crisis, blessing in disguise for Labour Party. No one can break my bond with Makinde, Ikpeazu, Ugwuanyi, Autumn. That's coming from Wiki. So Ugwuanyi is in the camp.
Yeah, yes, I think so. Yeah, I think so, but
It was not at the London summit.
No, I think it was Ikpeazu that was there.
Yeah,
Ugwuanyi has a bit silent. It's not really that vocal, and until even this commission in Abia State, Ikpeazu have not really been talking to.
Yes,
it has always been Makinde and Autumn. Who
even Makinde has not been
and the way and the kind of respect they give to Wiki and the PDP, because if you looked at the way Ikpeazu also introduced Wiki,
hold on,
my leader,
the kind of support his allies. You can't say the kind of support they give him in PDP, because apparently Rivers PDP is also in crisis. Okay, so you can't say
okay. Let's say it's allies, because like we mentioned earlier, none of the South governors are with him on this run. So, but the way Ikpeazu introduced Wiki, my leader, my mentor, my colleague, my pillar. I was like, Wiki.
My pillar.
I said pillar.
Did you hear pillar word?
I think he said
you
pillar.
Didn't say
but said something close to pillar. but honestly, I was like, what?
Oh, dear. Okay, but we also have, we want proper share of our political positions.
And sharing now. It will share. That's
the thing. I
feel
like that is.
You can see that all the issue of equity and justice and fairness is just. The real thing is the share.
Trying to position
but the question is, have they won? They're already sharing. You don't go win first. You win first before you share now, Sandra.
2023 is about is cautious optimism.
Okay, the first share.
It's optimism.
Okay, when you win,
you win. So just.
But just share now. Let's share first.
It's a strategy, for winners.
Forward thinking.
Yes.
Political forward thinking.
Yeah.
So waiting day. Let's share the thing now.
2023 is about Operation Show Your Work, says Ikpeazu. I wonder what Autumn will show.
Now will not be able to show anything. He has not commissioned one thing that I know.
No,
and
since even
Ikpeazu that is talking, the only thing he has shown us is this flyover bridge.
But since they are going around now and commissioning, maybe they'll soon go
they'll
around
get to Benue.
They'll get to Benue.
Okay.
Hopefully they will.
What has Makinde also commissioned anyway?
Hopefully they'll tell him to pay the salaries of the people that he's
owing.
Yeah. Makinde.
What thing he don't show since?
Park management.
Okay, I think he did that. I think he did a mall in one of the parks too. That now had a bar. I remember. A garage mall that has a bar.
It's okay.
It's over.
More details on page 5 of Vanguard newspaper. The fact that we need to agree that this NEC meeting, I think this is like the final showdown.
Should I predict something?
Because
should I make a prediction?
Campaign starts in less than 2 weeks.
Should I make a prediction?
Okay, sir.
Nothing will come out of that meeting. It will be more kata.
I would
you
like.
Fear my predictions, Abby.
I like to be hopeful.
Okay. For the PDP.
For
Are you a
PDP.
member of the PDP?
No.
Okay, so why are you hopeful for that?
There are 18 parties,
Okay.
the political parties, and there's one in particular that is
Anyway, Showore is in
getting
Lagos.
my interest.
We may have to
Debus.
drag him to the studio. Yeah, Showore. Moyele Showore is in
Yeah,
Lagos.
he
Yeah,
promised
so,
to
he
be
promised
here
to
once
be
he-
here. So
once he's in
we'll
Lagos.
see in the week. Yeah.
Okay, well, we also have Kuje prison attack. 65 well-armed operatives were on guard. Aregbesola tells reps panel.
So how did they now? How did people
So
just?
what now happened?
What now happened? They just came in
More details on page 6.
and did a sermon for 25 minutes before taking their people away. I beg you.
Kidnappers of 32 Ondo burial guests. Is it burial or wedding now?
There was a wedding. It was wedding. This one is in burial.
The Nation is reporting wedding.
This one is in burial.
Vanguard is reporting burial. It's okay.
But there was a ceremony.
But there was a ceremony
Okay,
and people were kidnapped.
So let's just go with that.
Demand 90 million naira. More details on page 4. Federal government suspends 5% tax on telecom services. As on page 6. Muslim ticket. Revisit decision.
It's too late. I think
North
we can't do
East,
anything
North
about
Central APC stakeholders tax NWC. That's on page
that.
7.
Is he going to remove Shetima now? I don't think so.
2 weeks to campaign.
It's late. It's late. Yeah.
We haven't compromised on the issue. That's coming from Khan. And that's on page 6 of Vanguard. I also have here fresh nationwide strike looms in power sector. That's on page 7. Insecurity. Federal government defeating terrorists in Northeast, says Defense Minister. That's on page 11. Portals for Obi's campaign funds open next week. That's coming from Pat Utomi.
Yeah, I think there was a discussion on the funding, then diaspora contribution, support, and all of that. The movement is very active, and I think there are the obedience, as they like to call themselves, who are willing to also contribute to the campaign. I think that's legitimate. That's okay. You know, since it's the movement of the people, like they always say. So, I think
Are you the people?
I'm not. I'm just saying.
Okay.
You have the obedience out there who are interested in
We have a
contributing
lot
to
of
that campaign.
people
Yeah,
out there. We have the articulates. We
and
have the
batified.
ratified,
Yes.
and we have the obedience.
What are the Okay, the
Kwakwansians.
the Kwankwasians, okay.
Kwakwansians.
So we have a lot of people out there who, elections, the campaigns are starting pretty soon. So
More details of that on page 9. And then finally we have building collapse. Sanwo-Olu goes tough. Commissioner quits. And that's on page 3. But Sanwo-Olu is in America for Headies.
yes, he'll be back.
For Headies Award.
Well, he had promised, that it was a cultural thing. He would be interested in supporting the entertainment industry, and I guess that was the reason he had to. If it's support for the entertainment and the creative minds in Nigeria, I think it's not a problem. Yeah.
That's okay.
He's somebody who has always promised support for the creative and entertainment industry. So
I'm with you.
I really don't want to.
I'm with you. And that's all we have from all the papers this morning.
But people have also questioned, the reason why the Eddies have to be taken to the United States. Why not Nigeria? Since a Nigerian award.
I'm more concerned with why the governor of Lagos State traveled for the Headies.
He said he was there to support the Nigerian entertainment industry and the creative minds in Nigeria.
Wow. That's amazing. All right, but that's all we have from the papers this morning. Those are all the trending stories
yeah.
from the front pages. The major trending story, we have Wike and his statements.
Wike is still dominating the headlines. Yeah.
Yes, he is still dominating. And another trending story we have is the fact that Khan is saying that they are not going to compromise. We also have another trending story is the defense chief also saying that things are getting better security wise. Yes, that's coming from federal government saying the worst part of insecurity is over. Another major trending story is Ipman saying that scarcity is looming in the northern part in the northern part of the country. Pantami also has gotten some sort of victory over the 5% excise duty by the Minister of Finance on the telco sector. And we also have trending story. Those are the major trending stories. But when we come back from the break, another trending story is the resignation of the commissioner here in Lagos as regards the collapsing and dropping of buildings in Lagos State. All right, so we'll take a short break. When we come back, we'll introduce the focus for this morning. All right, so you can guess which of what the focus will be from the major trending stories that I just mentioned. When we come back, we'll take that. Said Fuad is still here. My name still remains Omobola Sandra, and don't forget that when we come back, we'll be live on Facebook and YouTube at Mainland 98.3 FM. But in the meantime, stay good to the dial.
Yeah, I know what this is. 98.3 Mainland.